So for question number 8, use an example to explain why each statement is true. Use a number line to support your explanations. A, the sum of two opposite integers, so I'm going to outline that, is 0. Well, first I need to understand what opposite integers are. So opposite integers are integers like plus 5 and minus 5. Those are opposite. So we can see what they look like on the number line. So from 0, I'm going to go plus 5 to do my positive 5, and from the 0 I'm going to go negative 5 to do the negative 5 all the way down to negative 5, and we can see that they're the same distance from 0. So when we add them together, they're always going to be 0. The other way to think about it is the positive 5, a real world scenario where, for example, you got $5 and then you lost $5. Well, then you would be where you started, which is 0. Or if the starting temperature was 0 and we went up 5 degrees, so plus 5 degrees, and then we went down 5 degrees. Doesn't mean that the temperature is minus 5 here, it just means that the temperature went down 5 degrees. You're going to end up at 0. So that's why two opposite integers, when you add them, which is the sum, you always get 0. Now let's look at B. The sum of two positive integers is always positive. Well, let's look at an example. So let's say positive 4 plus positive 5. So from 0, I'm going to go plus 4 to the right, and then I'm going to, from the plus 4, I'm going to go another plus 5, which is going to bring me to positive 9. So in this case, it equals positive 9. Well, let's try another one. How about a small number? Because clearly this is positive. What if I try the smallest positive integer I can? That would be plus 1 plus 1. I can't get any smaller than that. Well, let's try that out. So down below I'm going to write it. So I've got my plus 1, which is going to the right. And then from where I am there at the 1, I add another 1. And that leaves me at positive 2. So we can see that when you're using positive integers, you're always to the right of the 0. So I'm going to write that down. Always to the right of 0. And that's why adding two positive integers is always going to be positive. Now let's look at C. The sum of two negative integers is always negative. So that kind of sounds like the opposite of what we just did. So we could look at an example again. Let's try something similar. Minus 4 plus, again we're adding, minus 5. I'm just going to use the opposite integers to what I had before. So from 0, we're going to go down 4, and that's going to bring us to minus 4. From minus 4, I'm going to go down another 5, because even though I'm adding a negative 5, so I have to keep going to the left. Well, that's going to leave me at minus 9, so my answer would then be minus 9. And you could think of that as if today the day started at 0 and the temperature went down 4 degrees, then it would be minus 4. If it went down another 5 degrees, it would end up being minus 9. It's always going to stay negative if we keep having the temperature drop. Let's try the smallest integer that we could smallest negative integer that we could add. So that would be negative 1 plus negative 1. Well, negative 1 is there, and if we do another negative 1, that's going to bring us to negative 2. And that's going to be the answer for C. Looking at D. The sum of a negative integer and a positive integer is sometimes negative and sometimes positive. So how would we explain that? So now we've got negative and positive. Well, let's look at some examples here. Let's try positive 5. So that's my positive integer. We're going to add a negative integer. Let's make it minus 3. Let's try this out. So positive 5 brings me up to plus 5. But now I'm going to be adding negative 3. So negative 3 means I have to move to the left 3, which is going to leave me at positive 2. So in this case, a positive and a negative gives me positive. Well, let's try a different number. Let's try positive 5 again. This time I'm going to add negative 4. Let's see what happens. So I'll do that below. Positive 5 and negative 4. So I'm going to have to move to the left. Well, this time it's going to leave me at positive 1. So again, 2 times I've done it, they're both positive answers. Does that mean it's always positive? Well, no, this is proving the second point here, that sometimes it's positive. Sometimes it's positive, right here. Let's see if we can get a negative. Well, we're getting smaller, so I think I'm going to try this down below. We'll stick with positive 5, plus 5, and we will add a bigger number. Let's try minus 6. So in this case, and I'll do this in red, we'll do positive 5. Now we're going to have to do adding negative 6. So again, negative 6 is going to go left, so there's negative 6. That brings me to minus 1. So in this case, my answer is minus 1. Let's try another one. Positive 5, let's do a bigger one. Adding minus 10. So I'll do this one in green. Actually, maybe I'll erase some of this because it's getting a bit dirty. There we go. So positive 5 in green. We're going to subtract 10. So there's 5 and there's 10. So I've gone negative 10. That's going to leave me at minus 5. So I have a couple examples which proves that sometimes my answer is negative. Well, let's see if there's a pattern here. It looks like, in this case, when my positive integer, plus 5, is bigger than my negative, the answer is going to be positive. When my negative integer is bigger than my positive integer, the answer is going to be negative. So I can write that down. So this is when adding a positive and negative integer. We have two circumstances. One, the sum, that means the answer in this case, will be positive when the positive integer is larger than the negative integer. And the opposite clearly is going to be true in the opposite case. The sum will be negative if the negative integer is larger than the positive integer. Okay, that's number 8. Let's take a look. That was number 10. Let's take a look at number 11. Susanna earned $24, spent 7, earned 12 more, and spent 10. Well, just before I even get to the answer, I know I'm thinking in terms of positive and negative, so I'm going to change these numbers into positive and negative. So if she earns money, I know that's going to be a positive. So the money that she earns, I'll put here is plus 24. And then the money that she spent is going to be minus 7. Then she earned 12 after that, and then she spent 10. So that's what happened, and I'll even put the numbers. So the first thing was plus 24, the second thing was minus 7, the third transaction you could say was plus 12, and the fourth was minus 10. Now it says express her earnings and spending using integers. Well, that's what I've done. How much money does she have left over from her earnings and spendings? Well, now I need to kind of put it all together, and there's a few ways I could do that. One way is to simply write it out in the order in which it was given. It's plus 24. I'm going to put brackets around every integer. Now we're adding negative 7. We're adding positive 12. And we're adding negative 10. Notice we're adding all of these together because we're considering each of these numbers as a transaction, right? In the positives, she earned money. That's a transaction. Somebody gave her money. In the negatives, it's also a transaction. It's a positive transaction. It's something that happened. She spent money. the transactions are either negative or positive. So we can look at that, and now taking our rules. Again, I'm going to put the rules on the side here. When we see a plus and a plus in this middle area here that I'm underlining, when you see a plus and a plus, you can turn that into a single positive sign. When you see a plus and a minus, that turns into a negative sign. Don't forget this rule. So I'm going to rewrite it as 24. Now I'm looking here. I have a plus and a minus. So because it's plus and minus, it turns into a minus. So it's 24 minus 7. Then I continue with my plus. I have plus plus, so that turns into a positive. And then I have 12. Over here I have plus minus, so that would be a negative. So positive 24 minus 7 plus 12 minus 10. So 24 minus 7 is going to be 17. I can write that down here. I think it's saving, so it's going to take a second. Whoops. So 17 plus 12 minus 10. 17 plus 12 is 29. 29 minus 10. And that's going to give me an answer of 19. So she has $19. We would write it out. Susanna has $19 left over. Okay, so that was question number 11, a bit out of order. We have question number 9 now. We're going to remember our two rules. I'm going to write them up here. Plus plus turns into a plus. Plus minus turns into a minus. I'm going to keep that on the side. So I'm going to rewrite all of these. So plus 4, and we have a plus plus, so that'll be plus 3. We have a plus minus, so that'll be minus 6. So 4 plus 3 is 7, minus 6 is 1. Look at B. We have minus 2. Then we have plus minus, so that's minus 4. Then we have plus plus, so it's plus 1. So minus 2, subtract another 4 from the 2, and then add 1. So if I was on my number line, I'm at minus 2, I'm going 4 lower, that'll bring me to minus 6, and I'm going to add 1, that'll leave me at minus 5. Next question, C. Start with minus 5, then I've got a plus, plus, so it's plus 3, then I've got a plus, minus, then it's minus 4. So it's minus 5, I'm going to add 3 to that, so that'll leave me at minus 2. Minus 2 minus 4, well, if I'm 2 below 0 and I have to keep going to the left another 4, that's going to bring me to minus 6, and that's the answer. Let's go to D. We start off with 6. Now when the first term, by the way, you may notice, if the first term is positive, you don't necessarily have to put a plus there. That's really up to you. But here we have plus minus, so that turns into a minus. Then we have plus plus, so that stays as a plus. So we have plus 6 minus 8. So if we're 6 to the right of the 0 and go to the left 8, that'll leave us at minus 2. But now we're adding positive 2, so that'll actually bring us right back to 0. Let's look at E. So E is 12. We have plus minus, so that's going to be minus 3. Then we have plus minus, so that'll be minus 2. So 12 minus 3 is 9. Minus 2 is 7. And F. Minus 5. Plus minus 8 turns into minus 8. Plus minus 10 turns into minus 10. So we're below 0 by 5. Then we're going to keep going another 8 below 0, so we'll be minus 13. And we still have to take off that additional 10. When we take off the additional 10, that's going to give us minus 23. Now this is all a bit out of order. There's number 10 now. The temperature in North Bay is 23 degrees Celsius. The temperature falls 7, then rises 12. What's the final temperature? How did you find out? So we're starting at plus 23. Then we're going to go down 7, so you're subtracting 7. But then we're going to add 12. You can literally write it like that. So 23 minus 7 is going to be 16. 16 plus 12 is going to be 28. So we're going to end up, in the end, as the final temperature being 28 degrees Celsius. You could also write it out like this. 23, positive 23, plus minus 7, plus 12. These are all temperature changes. That's why we are adding them. And in this way, we would have 23. The plus minus turns into a minus. The plus plus turns into a plus. And it ends up looking exactly the same as what we had up here. 23 minus 7 is 16, plus 12 is 28 degrees Celsius. So you could have used a number line as well. This number line isn't correct here, so we'll kind of ignore that at this point. And this should be number 12. That's right, this is the last question. So we have plus 10 plus some mystery number equals 25. Well, we know that 10 plus 15 is going to be 25, so our answer is going to be positive 15. Let's look at B. Minus 10 plus some number is minus 25. Well, minus 10 is below 0. To get another 15 below 0, we're going to have to take off another 15. So let's see if that works. Minus 10 plus minus 15. Is that going to give me minus 25? Well, it will, because minus 10 is 10 to the left of 0. And if I go 15 more, that's going to give me minus 25. So that works for that one there. Let's go to C. Plus 20 plus some number will give me plus 15. Well, I'm going down by 5, which means it's got to be subtraction. So it's going to have to be 20 plus negative 5, because that turns into 20 minus 5, which is going to be 15, and that matches. Let's look at D. Minus 20 plus some number is going to equal to minus 15. Well, in this case, we're starting at minus 20 below 0, but we have to end up only 15 below 0, so we're going to have to be adding a positive number, so we'll add plus 5, and that'll bring us to minus 15. And E. Positive 35 plus some mystery number is going to equal positive 17. So we're starting 35 to the right of the positive sign. And we're going to have to end up only 17 to the right. So we're actually going to have to go down by a certain amount. If we try minus 18, that should work, because 35 minus 18, which is what that would be because we have a plus minus, would give us 17. And last one, minus 35 plus some number equals minus 17. Well, we're 35 over. We start 35 over to the left of 0, but we need to end up only 17 over. So in this case, we're going to have to add that 18. If we add 18, so minus 35 plus plus turns into a plus. If we add 18, we'll end up at minus 17. And that's the answer for number 12.